All right, welcome back to the Real Quick with Mike Swick podcast. Today we have on the show the number 7th ranked middleweight Derek Brunson, someone I've never got to talk to before. So I'm actually really excited about this podcast. He's coming off a huge main event win back in August. He's 3-0 now in his last 3 fights. There's talks of Costa. There's talks of Kevin Holland. There's talks of Darren Till. There's a lot of rumors going around. There's a lot of back and forth banter. So let's see what's going on. All right, Derek, welcome to the show, bud.
All right, thanks for having me.
Man, good to have you on, man. I can't believe I haven't had you on already. Big veteran and stuff.
Yeah, I know.
You've had more fights than I have in the UFC. You've had, 17 fights now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, about 17.
Damn,
yeah, it's
man.
been kind of quietly, huh? But yeah, I had quite a few by now.
I think our paths kind of our careers kind of crossed over. I think my last final fight, which I was kind of already retired, was like 2015. And I think you fought 2012, I think was your first fight, was Leben, right?
Right, yeah, 2012, yeah.
So we kind of crossed a little bit. But cool, man. So what you been up to? How's everything been going? And what you been doing? What you've had like 4 months since your last dominant performance over Edmen?
Yeah, it's been a while, just chilling, just training, being a martial artist, the times that you're not fighting or preparing for a fight, you got to be really focusing on getting better, because during a training camp, you really can't get better. You're just getting in shape and, being sharper for that particular fight.
Man, I want to say congratulations on your 3 fights in a row. An awesome performance against Edmen. He came in highly touted. I don't even know if he was the favorite or not, but if he was, if I remember correctly, that's shocking considering, he hadn't faced someone like you yet. And I think that answered a lot of questions because, man, you dominated. I think it was the second round, and then he barely got out of that second round and then came back in that third, and then it was over. But I was going to ask you, man, you seemed to have finished the fight there. It was the end of the second, right? Correct?
Right, yeah.
It seemed like you finished the fight at that point. Did you agree with the fact that they let that fight continue going? If I was the corner, I think I would have stopped that fight because, he didn't look like he wanted to go back out there, and B, you pretty much had him out with that last punch that landed.
Yeah, I thought that was a ref's call. When I hit him with the last punch, they could have stopped the fight there. For a guy being undefeated, I guess it would be tough to kind of quit right there, or for his coach to throw in the towel. Because, maybe he can dig down and, have a good third round. There's guys that made crazy comebacks. So, it's tough to call right there. But I think an undefeated fighter, I think you have to let him go there and, let him find his way. It's the fight game. You either win or lose. And, going back out there, at least you have the opportunity. If you can, get your wits about you, you have an opportunity to win.
I agree with you in some points. I think that is true as far as undefeated fighter. You got to give him a benefit of the doubt. But that was a fight that could have changed his whole mental state. Do you know what I mean? Being the corner, not looking out for his safety, or in my opinion, not looking out for his safety, that is a fight that could damage him forever. You know what I mean? He took so much damage at the end, and then he had to walk back out there and fight you, and you were ready to go. He obviously wasn't. I just feel like it could be one of those fights that kind of affected him mentally and not a good way, when they could have just stopped it, said, you know what? Give him this victory. Let's just go back, get better, and come back and fight another day, kind of thing. I don't know. It just seemed like one of those. It was a pretty tough ending for him. I don't know. That's just how I feel. But either way, congratulations to you, sir.
I would have liked for it to end right there. I wouldn't have had any problem with it.
Yeah.
But he came back out and he showed, he was poised. And the funny part about it, though, imagine if I wouldn't have turned it up on him right there, and I would have gave him about came out there and felt the round out, gave him about 30, 45 seconds to feel it out. He could have got it back together and, finished strong. It could have been 1-1, you never know. So, yeah, it's a fight game,
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, man. You would be the type of fighter I wouldn't wanted to fight in my career. I don't like to fight the clinchy and the wrestler fighters that can throw too. You know what I mean? I've always wanted to strike and just fight strikers and people I can get out there and strike with. So, but what's going on right now with is there any updates on your upcoming fights? I know that we'll go through 3, I guess. It looked like you were calling out Costa a little bit on your Instagram. Then it looked like Kevin Holland was coming after you a little bit. And then now it looks like you and Till kind of have some kind of beef. So let's go start with Costa. What happened with Costa and is there anything coming of that?
Man, no, nothing coming out of the fight with Costa. I tried to fight him several times. I don't think he wanted any parts of me, So he's a guy that after his fight, he wanted an instant rematch, which that wasn't going to happen. If a guy gets a title shot and you lose, then you got to go back to the drawing board, win a couple, get back in there. So I thought it was perfect. A guy, I won 3 in a row, ranked, 7. For him to get his next fight, I thought that would have been a perfect match. You know, that the UFC would want to set up, that he would want to take. And I think we had one of the two parties on board. I think the UFC would have made that match, but Costa, you know, they weren't trying to fight. So then we just kind of shifted the focus. You know, anybody top 5. That's what we're asking for. Anybody top 5 going to put me in that rim to, you know, get a title shot, get a number 1 contender match. You know, I'm just looking for that because in my career, I've never gotten a title shot, but I fought all these guys who have gotten title shots. And I felt like, you know about this sport, it's a lot with timing. Like you've seen guys with lesser competition that got easier routes to get a title shot versus a guy who fought all these guys and never got a title shot, or fought all these guys and then got a title shot. So I'm just looking to, you know, finally get my title shot. So that's been my focus, of trying to get somebody that's really going to put me in that conversation of getting that.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. At least I blew both of my title shots. Like I can at least look back and say I had 2 title contention shots. I was supposed to fight Anderson Silva, and then Travis Lutter jumped ahead of me on the TV show. I was number 1 contender when I beat Loazo, and then Lutter jumped ahead because he won the TV show, and it was to fight for the championship. So I took a fight. I took a fight with Okami, blew that. Then I had a fight with Dan Hardy to fight GSP, blew that. So it's like at least I can look back and say I blew my own title shots. I didn't like win a bunch of fights and never got a chance, or I got ahead, whatever. But I was gonna ask you really fast. I'm gonna get sidetracked because Anderson Silva was the fight of my dreams. Because now, mind you, when I was gonna fight Anderson, when I was next in line, he wasn't the Anderson that became the legend Anderson. I mean, he had like the Rich Franklin fight, the Chris Leben fight. So we knew he was dangerous from his previous fights before UFC, and then when he fought in the UFC. But then after I ended up going down to welterweight and still watching his legend grow and grow and grow, that was always that fight that I was just like, wow, man, like I wish I could have had it. I mean, looking at it now, he's kind of like the same style as me, but just way better in every area. Probably wouldn't have been so good for me, considering you fought him and pretty much beat him. I mean, everyone's pretty much in agreement that you won that fight. What was it, just for my own curiosity, what was it like, man, preparing for someone like Anderson Silva and then getting in there and looking across and seeing him and fighting him? And then technically, I mean, you didn't win the fight, but you did, like how was that? How was that experience?
And, and that's everybody. Everybody, Anderson Silva for so long has been like the measuring stick for everybody. So everybody wanted to have the opportunity to share the octagon with him. And I always wanted that too. And when I got the opportunity, I jumped all over it, even though it was short notice, and went out there. And yeah, it's funny. I look at what was it? I believe 2017. Yep. Like every MMA website named it robbery of the year,
Yeah,
I mean,
I saw that.
That would have been cool to have on my resume, a win over Anderson, So, but yeah, Anderson is Anderson. He's tricky. He's so good, and it's funny, or more so sad to watch him fight now. In terms of he's still so good, but it's like some of the stuff that he got away with, he just can't pull it off. But it's like if he just cut back on some of the stuff that he can't get away with, then he can fight still. But it's like you can't teach old dog new tricks.
Right.
So it's at 22. It's like telling him not to do certain things is what he did his whole career. I mean, you look at Uriah Hall, I don't know what, 7-8 years younger, and he was doing a 5-round fight. He was doing very well. Like he won the first, he was winning the second. He got clipped with like 15 seconds in the second and probably swung that round. Then he won the third, I believe, or was winning the third. So technically, he could have been up 3-0. Just how good he is. Like the guy is good at just keeping you guessing, creating distractions, keeping the crowd in it, keeping the judges watching. Like he threw some combinations at me, and he didn't even land, and the whole crowd was like, "Oh!" And I'm like, "What? I blocked that," So he's really good at I think he's that guy who he'll just come out and just feel things out for the first 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes. And then that last minute, he start going crazy. Yeah. He start putting all types of feints, everything. It's just like him and his crowd, him and his corner, they scream something at like a 1 minute mark, and he just tries to steal the round. So it's just, he's a savvy and witty fighter for sure.
What about you and Till? Is there anything coming of that? I mean, I see the banter online and stuff. I saw the meme you put out and everything. Is there anything going to happen there?
I don't know. The UFC, I was told the UFC have other plans for Till. So, I mean, I don't know. I've been trying to fight these guys for years. But it's like some fights I can't land. Like you said, you don't want to fight certain guys. But, I mean, I'm sure you're just saying that. But I'm sure you would fight. You're a fighter, and you've been around the game, so you'll fight anybody. But some of these guys really, they won't fight me. So it's just,
Yeah.
unless the UFC make them fight me, or if I'm ahead of them. If I'm ranked ahead of them by far and it's an opportunity for them, of course they'll fight me. But like if we're like around the same rank, and they're like, I'm good. So
It seems like now you got a lot more choices. The UFC is giving you more choices. We didn't. I mean, it's not like we didn't have choices, but the UFC told us who we were going to fight, and it was just like we were just in our head. We were just programmed to say yes, and that we were fighters, and we just did it. So like when I said I wouldn't want to fight you, like if the UFC came to me and said fight Derek Brunson, I'd be like, okay, no problem, we'll do it. I'm just saying, in my mind, I'd be saying, fuck. Like, there's better people I would rather fight than somebody who's going to, be a better wrestler than me that can take me down and not fight the fight that I want, which is like just a knockout, fight on the feet. And you can do that as well. You got great punching and strikes as well. So it seems like now they're allowing more options, and then there's more fights, there's more people. Who is it? I mean, we got Vettori. I had Vettori on the podcast just a while back. He's the one that took Till's place, fought Hermansson, beat him. Obviously, Whittaker's at the top. I don't know what's going on with Izzy. Who is it that you would like to fight? Just is there? I mean, we want to see you fight again. It's been 4 months or something. Who is it that you want to fight, and who is it do you think is the closest person to you actually getting in there with?
Man, yeah, I tried a lot of options. I tried a lot, and it's like it seems like Kevin Holland is the only guy that I'm gaining traction on right now. That and it's funny, like. I was offered a fight before. So I was ranked number 7, and I was offered number 10, which was Chris Weidman. And I'm like, listen, I want somebody, like I said, I told my manager, I told Ali, I said, listen, tell the UFC I'm going to fight somebody top 5, a new matchup. Because Romero was right there. He was number 5, but I already fought him before. Like you said, I want everybody. I don't want to fight everybody's path or ideal of the toughest fights. I want to fight people who are on winning streaks, people who have a lot of hype. Like Romero. We fought before. He won the fight. He lost 4 out of 5. So like a guy like that, even though he's ranked like 2 ahead of me, I want somebody with buzz. That people, you see the UFC got rid of him. So it's like they didn't really care about him anyways. Right. So like if I fight him, what is it, eliminator for who we don't care about? Right. Like I want somebody with some buzz who the UFC care about. And I've been in this game for a while and I learned it, and I watch and I look and I know who they care about. I know who they want, who's getting pushed. So those are the guys I want to fight. I don't want to fight somebody that's on a severe losing streak. I don't want to fight somebody that's like, people are like, oh, he's 40 plus. We don't care about it. I want to fight somebody that has a lot of buzz, So like I said, whenever I got offered Chris Weidman, it was number 10. I was like, listen, UFC, do better than that. Give me somebody ranked ahead of me. Chris Weidman's good. He's a former champ, but I want somebody that's going to get me a chance to reach a title. Yeah. That's fighting back. I just fought all these guys behind me, all these up-and-comers. Like, I really want to do this for me. All my coaches, everybody was on board with, like, yeah, we need to get a title eliminator next, like something big. Yeah. So I was like, nah, we're not interested in that fight. Then they came and they said, Romero, Ali was like, hey, we already fought him. You guys, we want somebody, that's on a winning streak, that's, up there, that's in the line for a title fight. We won 3 in a row. We feel we're in that conversation with a win. Then we was offered Hermansson on 3 weeks. Yeah. So I was asking for Hermansson about 3 months before that. He didn't have a fight. I didn't have a fight. I was asking for that fight. Nothing came about. Then, of course, 3 weeks. It was like, oh, okay, I'm over here eating cookies, doing stuff. I'm training, but I'm not training for a fight, doing cardio and stuff like that. And you're talking about a 5-round fight with huge implications. You want to be like peaking and in really good shape. So it's like, I mean, you guys can't offer me a fight on 3 weeks' notice. Give me ample time to prepare for a fight, right? And let something done, So, but like I said, I think out of all the fights, even though I hate it and I didn't want to fight backwards, probably Holland's fight, the guy with a lot of buzz that people are, really high on, and the UFC wants to make that fight, so that'll probably be the next fight that's made.
And honestly, man, looking at how things are going now with the UFC, this hype stuff is real. I mean, it's like bigger than ranking. I mean, you look at Khamzat right now. Khamzat is not even in the top 15, but he's one of the most. He's literally one. You mention his name and it's a headline. You know what I mean? Like, he is so hyped right now, and Leon can gain so much by fighting him, even though he's kind of taking a risk fighting downwards, kind of like what you're saying. So I can totally see what you're doing here with Holland. And if that fight happens, because I mean, if you're down, he's obviously down. How do you see that fight playing out? Like how do you see that fight going with you and him?
Honestly, right now I feel like I'm really coming into my prime. So like I watched a couple of his fights, and I take in the good, I take in the bad. I was like, he's really good here. He's not so good here. He's average here. I look at everything. And like the last fight, I had to throw that out. That's a fight I throw out with Jacare. Nobody gets knocked out front and back. Like Jacare fell asleep, he took him down and, relaxed, especially a guy like that. Imagine a guy with a BJJ as good as he is and to sag back like that instead of like BJJ is about putting pressure on guys.
Pressure.
It's like that was just super weird. I thought
it was a freak thing. Yeah, it was a freak thing for sure.
Yeah. It was just like guys just don't get knocked out front and back. It's like one of those things like Junior Dos Santos, Jacare is like maybe you guys taking enough. Maybe it's about time to retire. If you're getting points like that and, you're getting days right there. I mean, athletics don't last forever. And after athletics, you have your life and you want to have a healthy brain. So like, if you can't take shots like that, then yeah, it's probably, time to, I don't know, coach, open a gym, run a gym. Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, I see myself just putting it on Hollins, I don't really see any one place that he's better than me. His cardio is not better than mine. His wrestling isn't better than mine. His striking isn't better than mine. His BJJ isn't better than mine. So he's a guy who he's been calling me out. He's been calling me out for the past 3 fights. And it's funny because I was going to fly him in to train with me for Izzy. And I think after this fight, I was like, man, you look good out there. Good job. He's like, oh, man, it's such a blessing, such an honor to have a UFC guy talking to me. He was like, a week before I was fighting the LFA, he was like, man, I'm so awesome. And then he went from that to calling me out. So, so I'm all about it, man.
So there's a little bit of bad blood there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and I know what you mean, obviously, about the Jacare fight, too. Like, everything's about pressure with BJJ. And then also, when you do post up, you're supposed to know how far you can post up. And the BJJ guy is supposed to know that more than anybody. And that's why maybe him getting older and getting a little bit kind of like where he's at, his judgment's a little bit different to stay that close enough to still be hit that hard and so solid. I mean, that's... You know where you're at when you're posturing up. You know what I mean? Usually. But I'm not one to be as critiquing a BJJ guy of that level, but that's just what it looked like to me. All right, I hope you're enjoying the podcast, but I have to thank our sponsors, our first being Manscaped, the official trimmer of the UFC, and now the official trimmer of the Real Quick with Mike Swick podcast, and yours truly. Precision engineered tools for your family jewels. And now you can save 20% and get free shipping by going to manscaped.com, manscaped.com, and entering code QUICK, which lets them know that I sent you, which helps the podcast because they get all these crazy orders from the podcast, and it lets them know that we're doing our job. So you support the podcast, support yourself, you get 20% off, and you get free shipping. Also great news, they are now available in Europe, Australia, and Canada. So pretty much around the world you can order Manscaped. So go to manscaped.com, enter code QUICK, get your free shipping, and get your 20% off today. And as always, the Real Quick with Mike Swick podcast is brought to you by AK Thailand, the world's premier luxury training resort here in Phuket, Thailand. You can go to akthailand.com right now and get 30% discount off all group training packages, whether that's 1 week, 3 weeks. That's an odd number, 3 weeks. It's 1 week, a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. However long you want, and there's no expiration date. So anytime in 2021, anytime in 2022, anytime in 2023, whenever you want to come, you can come. You take advantage of the sale right now. You're in our POS, 30% discount. You can use it anytime in the future, but we can actually get you in right now. We have processed people in this month. They're already on-site training at AK Thailand that they've came in already this month. We can do a special 3-month visa for you right now, and they're processing very fast. We're very surprised how this is working. You do have to do a slight quarantine right now until this vaccine pass comes in, where you if you have the vaccine, you can actually come directly in. But we can get you in. So if you want to come for 3 months or more, and you're willing to do a 2-week quarantine, hit us up at info@akthailand.com, and we can tell you how to process your visa. We can help you out. We can send you an invitation, get that going. Also, if you have any questions at all about the gym or anything else in general, info@akthailand.com. If you haven't seen the commercial and you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't know what gym I'm talking about and what it looks like, here it is.
What's up, everybody? I am here in Thailand. This is the first time I've ever been here. Been dying to come here for years. Mike Swick, he's one of the big reasons he's been trying to pull me down here. What he built down here AKA Thailand is incredible. There's people here from all over the world. You can train mixed martial arts here, jiu-jitsu. They have weightlifting, they have cardio, and obviously they have Muay Thai, boxing, everything. I'm telling you guys, I know everybody wants to go to Thailand because Thailand's so cool, but you can't come to Thailand without coming to AKA Thailand. Come on.
So you're with Hooft now, and you've
Right.
been with him for 3 fights, so you're 3-0 with Hooft?
Right.
So how's that, man? How is that? Why did you go to Hooft, and how is that training different and working for you now?
Well, I've seen Hoof around like for years. I mean, he's been around,
Yeah,
with
for sure.
and Overeem and all those guys, Rashad, all those guys for years. And I see him at events, and he's just always really cool, really cordial. He'll say what's up. He'll talk for a minute, and I just always felt good energy just being around him. And I always wanted to train, like, whenever I started this game, my thing was to train with Rashad. So I went down to Jackson to train with Rashad. John Jones was down there. We all, formed a team. They had some bad blood. Rashad started his own camp. I stayed down there because that's who I started with, under Greg Jackson and the rest of those guys. And then, after I started doing more of my camps at home, then that wasn't working for me because I just wasn't having enough bodies to get ready for these high-level fights. I'll get in there, and my tank wasn't there because I haven't been pushed enough, leading up to the fight. I wasn't tested enough. So, like, if I'm in the gym, with these soccer moms and dads sparring with these guys, taking it easy on them, it ain't the same pushing when you have a guy just pushing you for, 3-5 minute rounds.
Right.
So I was like, well, let me try Hoof out. Kamaru Usman was there, Michael Johnson, Michael Chandler, all those. I knew all those guys, and I went down there, tried it out for a week, and then I was like, man, I'm definitely gonna be back. It's just good vibes, good training, hard training, and Henry's a technician. He's a real guy. He lets you know. He's like, if you're not in shape, if you're not paying attention to the small things, you're gonna get your ass whooped. And when he said that to me, I'm like, what? Ain't nobody whooping my ass. But, I need somebody that's going to be realistic and straight up with me. And that's the guy. He's definitely, straight up and realistic.
So with Henri Hooft, during your fight camp, what is a normal week like for you as far as training?
So we have a certain amount of sessions that we get in during the week. We'll have our sparring. We'll spar like twice. We'll go BJJ about twice. Then we do conditioning. We'll hit mitts, wrestling. And that's pretty much it. Everybody hit their sessions. We got a lot of top athletes that's, working hard, getting ready for fights. So it's just go hand in hand, and everybody's peaking at the right time, and everybody's supporting each other. And then, they have somebody like Henry running drills and tactical and things that actually work in fights is great, putting together good combos.
You spar hard, or is it more technical? I know it's changed over the years because we started out really hard and then it was bad for us. We missed a lot of fights. We had a lot of injuries. We had to tone it down a little bit. Like, where are you at with your sparring?
So it's when I'm at home, I live in North Carolina, I have a gym out here. It's technical sparring like every session. Right. I'm just out here, sparring with kids, sparring with, pro fighters, enthusiasts of kickboxing. So it gives me the opportunity to try, rolls, slips, let them punch at me because I'm not in such danger, but they're actually throwing legit punches. So they're not at the skill level where I can get away with some stuff, so I can work on stuff. So it's like light sparring back at home. When I go out to Florida, it's like an in-between light and hard. So it's not like people trying to knock each other out, but people are going pretty good to keep you honest, but not hard enough to get you eliminated from fights or get you injured before the fight.
That's super smart, man. And what about on fight week? So when you show up for the fight, are you one of these guys that train really hard those first few days and try to get it in, or do you just rest and relax and try to just get recovered for the fight?
Yeah, I just rest, relax, focus on the weight cut, just hit my workouts a day, try to get 2 workouts in a day, walk around, eat up time. With this COVID, it's been a lot harder to walk around and do stuff. You had to been trapped in the room, so I bring my Xbox. I just chill out, cut the weight, get a couple workouts in, and get to the fight, when it comes Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, and I know that you said about studying. You were talking about Kevin Holland, and I like to ask guys at your level: do you study your opponents hard? Like, do you really watch a lot of tapes and study them hard? I get fighters that say they do. It's like school for them, and then I get fighters that say they don't even watch. They just kind of train for everybody the same. What is your way of preparing for a fight as far as looking at tapes and studying your opponents and stuff?
So I'm like in between of what you just said. It's like I'll watch, but I don't overly watch. So
right.
I'll look and I'm like, okay, I've seen enough. Like I'll watch to look at some what the individual like to do. What are they really good at? What are they really bad at? I'll try to find those things, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. So I don't need to watch any more video if I see what I need to see. And then it's from that point on, then I'm worried about bettering myself. I'm not really planning for where they're good at or whatever. I'm understanding where they're good and things I need to watch out for, but the whole time I'm focused on getting myself better and being a better version of myself.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. And then I got to ask you, just because I'm sure a lot of people are curious. So you started fighting in 2010, correct?
Yes.
So that would make you 26?
26, yeah.
And you were a wrestler in college, so there's a little bit of time there between wrestling and fighting. What did you do during that time? And then when was that transition to where you decided to be a professional MMA fighter and then pursue that full time?
So a little bit after college, I was working. I got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice.
Oh, nice.
I was working in home therapy. So I was like kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. I was working with families on, coping skills, anger management, just trying to coexist in society better. So I was doing that for a couple of years, and I just got the urge to compete again. So I went into a gym, and I wanted to do like freestyle and Greco wrestling. And all of the guys were like former college wrestlers and amateur MMA fighters. And I started training with those guys, and I was the better wrestler of the group. So I'll take them down, and then they were like, want to keep going. They want to start doing jiu-jitsu. So then it was like, all right, I'll take them down. Then they're like, let's do jiu-jitsu. I'm like, all right, cool. So then I started learning how to defend arm bars and triangles and start doing BJJ. And then a little after, I started boxing, and then I just kind of fell into it. At first, they were like, you should take a fight. I was like, nah, I just want to wrestle. And they're like, no, you should fight. I'm like, nah. And then, a couple months later, I was like, all right, cool. So I had a fight 2 months after training. And then I had another amateur fight 2 months after that. And then 3 months after that, I went pro. So it all happened fast.
Was there something that clicked that really made you think like, this is what I want to do? Like, this is what I definitely want my job to be?
Yeah. Well, day one when I decided to fight. So about a month and a half after training, to wrestle, and then I started learning BJJ, I was like, okay, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to be in the UFC. Yeah. I'm going to, that was my goal. I said, I'm going to definitely get there. And my goal was to get 20 fights in the UFC. That was my initial goal.
All right.
And it's funny, when I first started watching UFC, I was like, I used to watch Chris Leben. I was like, I can beat that guy. Like, I'll beat that guy up, And then the first fight, I get called for Chris Leben. And my manager's like, hey, your debut's coming up. They offered Chris Leben on 10 days notice. I was like, all this time I was like, I'll beat him up. And then I get an opportunity. I'm like, I was like, yeah. And then I call him back. And I'm like, hey, man, actually, I'll just wait. And he's like, I already told him yes. I was like, all right, let's go. So, that's so
funny. He's a tough dude, man. That's funny. That's your first fight in the UFC. That was my last fight before the UFC. With Chris Leben.
Oh yeah.
So funny. Yeah. I was going to ask you, since you're obviously having huge fights now, fighting main events, winning main events. And I've seen you with Mike Tyson and some other cool stuff on your Instagram. What is one fame moment that you've had where you would never have this specific moment if it wasn't for where you were in fighting and getting the fame and all this type of stuff that's just real memorable for you?
Dang, that's a.
I know it's hard. You probably have a lot.
Yeah, because MMA, it's like being a professional athlete. It changes your life in terms of you make the type of money that you wouldn't be able to make in regular living,
Yes, sir.
So it's a matter of, like you said, meeting Mike Tyson. I've been all around the world, Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, all those places I wouldn't have went. Like I might have went to one or two, but I've had a lot of opportunities to just travel, so like it's a lot. I think all those things in combination, training with some of the top athletes, training with some of the top NFL, NBA players, that I watched growing up, just being in South Florida, and that's like a hotbed for athletes. So a lot of those things that I probably wouldn't have never done if I wouldn't have fought.
Yeah. And not to bring it down to be negative, but just to the listeners you might get some insight here. What is the hardest part, would you say, of being a professional fighter in the UFC? Like, what is one of the most kind of roughest parts for you?
Man, it's tough in terms of I've seen a lot of guys come and go, and I've seen a lot. I remember my 10th pro fight. I was 9-0 and I fought Kendall Grove on a lower show, and I got robbed in that fight. But the thing of that fight is that it was like 12 UFC vets on that card, and guys were like, man, if I lose this fight, man, this like my last money in my bank account. And they were like former athletes. So that's the thing, is that in this game, you have to be smart with your money.
Yeah.
You know, you have to market yourself. You have to take your money, start a gym, do other things, manage fighters, run a fight promotion. You know, even if it's not fight related, use the money that you made in fighting to invest in something else, because athletics don't last forever. And I've seen a lot of guys go through it because they get in there and they spend all their money, and then these managers take a lot from them, and they got to pay taxes and all this other stuff, and then they're left with nothing. So I would think that's the hardest thing as far as, like, you know, maintaining in the MMA world, is just making sure that taking care of your brain, taking care of your body, and leaving the game with something.
That's cool, man. And that's actually the last thing I was going to ask you. You know, not that you're old, you're obviously, I would say, pretty much in your prime, but you are obviously getting up there. And I was already in business back when I was in my 30s, preparing for, you know, after my career. And then now I have a company here in Thailand and stuff. Do you have anything that you're working on right now as far as business alongside your UFC career? And then also, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Like, what ideally do you want to do once fighting is over that you would actually enjoy doing?
Yeah, I have a lot of things going on. I actually have a pretty nice gym. We're in the big mall in Wilmington, North Carolina. Like, we're right next to JCPenney's, like retail. And it's pretty nice layout. So I got that. I manage fighters. I got a fight promotion. So I do a lot. You know, I try to stay busy. Probably in the next 10 years, probably really want to get into real estate. Maybe open another gym. Gyms are tough. You know, gyms, you know, they're more hobbies and pain in the butt unless you got the right little niche. And just from running my first gym, just trial and error, I learned a lot. So I think going into another one, I can do a lot better, just getting a great location and stuff like that. So I would say definitely in the next 10 years, probably get another gym and really get some real estate stuff going.
Awesome. All right, so I need a couple breakdowns from you. First off, Edwards versus Chimaev, we talked about already a little bit, but how do you see that fight going?
That's a tough one. Experience plays a huge role when it comes to fighting. And Chimaev, I believe he would definitely, you know, I think he's going to get a super test pretty soon here. Maybe his wrestling is enough to beat Edwards, but I'm not counting Edwards out. You know, if I had to pick somebody, I might slightly go 51-49 Edwards, just with the experience, and I think he'll be the far better striker. I think Chimaev would have to take him down and gobble up some time on top, you know, but ultimately I think he can get back to his feet and really win on his feet. You know, win the exchange on his feet. So that's a close fight. Maybe I'll slightly lean towards Edwards.
Yeah, very likely, man. Definitely. And then obviously Conor McGregor's coming back fighting Dustin Poirier for the second time. So now you have Dustin Poirier, who's a little bit more experienced in fighting Conor McGregor. Obviously, he's been doing really well. And then you got Conor McGregor coming back, who's always dangerous, you know, especially in the beginning of the fight. What is your take on that fight?
I think Conor just haven't been active, and Poirier has been active. I think Poirier wins this fight. I think he wins pretty good too. I think he looked good doing so. He's just been really active, you know. I know Conor got him the first time, but now they both know who each other are and they know what to train for. And Dustin is, you know, he's in his groove. He's rolling. He captured a interim title belt, and he's just been fighting a lot. So I think he wins this fight pretty good.
Yeah. Cool, man. We were talking about traveling earlier. Have you been to Thailand?
I haven't. That's the next place I want to go. My fiance wants to go for our honeymoon. So yeah, we're going to definitely get there.
Well, I tell you what, man, when you decide to come to Thailand, hit me up and come down to Phuket, and I got you, bro. Like, I got a real nice place, 2-acre compound. It's like a college campus kind of gym. It's kind of like a little fight city. We got a restaurant. We got multiple buildings and training facilities on a 2-acre property, right mountainside in the jungle on this island in Phuket. So we'll get some training in. We'll take you and whoever you bring through the islands and cruise the islands and do some really cool stuff with animals and the water and stuff. So whenever you do come to Thailand, I got you, bro. Just hit me up and we'll show you a great time.
All right, will do.
And listen, man, I appreciate you taking the time out for doing the podcast. It's been great to talk to you, man. I never got to talk to you, and a big fan of yours. I love watching you fight. I look forward to seeing who you're going to fight next. And I'd love to have you back on the show whenever you do get an opponent, just for a quick update, see how you're doing, and see how your fight camp's going.
Sounds good. Nice talking to you.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right, see you.
All right, Derek Brunson. Very good podcast. That was enjoyable. So yeah, it looks like it might be Kevin Holland. That's an interesting fight, and you know, these fights like Leon Edwards and Khamzat, and you know, if he takes this fight with Kevin Holland, seems risky because these guys aren't as ranked. But it's like with this hype in this day and age, it's everything, you know. So like you still gain a lot by beating these guys, and I actually think that's a really good fight. Kevin Holland is doing really good right now. He's a very dynamic striker. I agree with Brunson's take on the fight with Jacare. I do think there were some mistakes made, and it wasn't the same Jacare of past times. So it'll be an interesting test to see where Kevin Holland is in a Brunson fight. Brunson's just all around a good fighter, and I just think that's going to be a great fight. So, I think that's going to be something to look forward to. And it sounds like that's what's going to happen. Either way, it'll be a good something good will happen, and we'll definitely get him back on the podcast and get an update, see how his fight camp's going, see how he's doing, and so hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you took something from it. Please leave us a comment on YouTube. We love interacting with you guys. Remember, all the podcasts are posted on YouTube first, 9 hours ahead of time before all the other platforms. We're on every platform, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, everything you can imagine. But we post everything on YouTube first because we want the comments. We want to know what you think. We want to know your input, critiques, whatever it is, we want to know. And we love interacting with you as well and answering your questions and your feedback. And we just appreciate the support. So subscribe, click the bell, tell your friends, and we'll see you next time.